What is up guys, I hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're covering r/entitled parents. If you're new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe and maybe that notification bell if you enjoy the content of course. And as always, support the music artists because they're just epic. And with that being said, let's get into today's stories. Our first story is from AVLs96. EM demands my toddler give up his toys because her husband might be a higher rank than mine. I'm on mobile, so I apologise for formatting. Also, this is long. It's snowy where I live, a lot more than what we're used to getting. We live in a military town. The schools and most of the businesses follow the base's lead when it comes to weather related closures. The base is essential personnel only right now, so I got the day off. I live across the street from the base housing. My husband and I decided to buy our own house instead of living there, but we're still close enough to utilise their parks. Now, to the story. The base housing has a little park every block or less. Honestly, a ridiculous amount of parks. We normally just go to the closest one to our house, but since it's been snowing we decided to go to one further away because it has better hills. My oldest, 4, was bundled up tight and using his sled down the hill, then hiking back up. At one point in time he got distracted and left the sled, at which point another child jumped on it and was playing with it. That's fine. My son decided he wanted to hike back up and went to get his sled. Now it's important to know I'm wearing my youngest, 3 months, and because of that it's unsafe for me to go down the hill in case I fall. I couldn't hear what my oldest was saying to the other child, but eventually he got his sled back and was dragging it up the hill. Enter EM. My son is up the hill now and walking towards me to push him down, when he is stopped by EM. EM reaches for the sled and my son very audibly says, "No, I used my words." We're teaching him to use words instead of hitting when he is frustrated. EM reaches for the sled again as I'm walking up. I say, "Excuse me, can I help you?" The EM says, "Is this your child?" I said, "Yes, he is. Again, can I help you?" "Your child stole this from mine. I watched him." "That is his sled. I bought it in Popular Town last Christmas. Your child was playing with it for a while, then mine wanted it back." "No, my child was playing with the sled and yours took it." "I watched everything that happened. Yes, your child was playing with my son's sled, then my son used his words and took it back." "I've never seen you before. Are you even supposed to be here? You know this park is restricted, right? This is military only." "I'm well within my rights to utilise this park." I grab my son with the sled and go to walk away, but that would be too easy, right? EM grabs the sled from my son's hand and turns around. "Excuse me, bitch, do not take things from my child. Who do you think you are?" She says, "What did you just say to me?" I say, "Give him the sled back. I'm not playing right now." "Do you even know who I am? My husband is insert rank. You can't speak to me that way." I say, "Congratulations, your husband's rank has absolutely nothing to do with you stealing from my child." I yanked the sled back, picked up my toddler, keep in mind I'm still wearing my youngest, and went to walk away. EM grabbed for the sled again, causing me to lose my footing. Thank God I didn't fall, because I would have probably had her head. I say, "Look, you fucking twat, your husband has nothing to do with my husband's career, but your actions have everything to do with his. Keep your shit up and I will get the MPs involved. Touch me, either of my children, or the sled again, and I'll put you on your ass. I'm not playing this game anymore. What you just did put both of my children in danger. Walk the fuck away." EM said, "You're threatening me and cussing in front of my child. I will report this. I've never seen you here before. You don't belong here. You've never seen me because I work for a living. I don't give a shit about what your kid hears. I'm walking away. Touch me again and I will not hesitate to hurt you." EM was yelling more as I walked away, then proceeded to glare at us until my son got cold and we went to walk back. I've heard of these types of people, but I can't believe I encountered one in the wild. I've dealt with my fair share of entitled parents, but trying to steal from a 4-year-old, endangering a 3-month-old, that's a new low for me. But trying to use a husband's rank to win an argument, what kind of stupidity is that? I wonder how often that happens, like on those sort of bases. Our next story is from Wolf156. Entitled parent makes a bomb threat. I'm on my phone at the moment, so this might look like crap, but here goes. So I've posted before about stories of crazy people I deal with at the animal shelter I work at. This shelter is part of my county's animal control, so we deal in violations and fines for owned animals that get loose and cause trouble in neighbourhoods. We get these 2 dogs in the other week, and it's not the first time we've had these dogs in our shelter for running about. It's the 3rd time. We contact the owners and tell them the dogs are at our shelter, and hear nothing back from them until a few days ago. Now, about these dogs, we get calls about them almost daily. They get out and chase kids in the neighbourhood and go after other dogs, rip through trash cans, the works. Every time we get out there, the owners have them back up, so all we can do there is give them a warning. This time, however, the dogs got out and went after a kid, changed course and ran into a neighbour's yard where the neighbour's cat was relaxing on the porch until the dogs rushed it and ripped it to pieces, killing the cat. Now the shit's hit the fan. The neighbours lock the dogs in her garage and we come out and get them. Fast forward to the other day, the owners finally come in and it's a young couple with a newborn. Right off the bat they come in aggressive, demanding their dogs back, claiming we stole them. We tell them that the dogs were out running loose again and that they charged a kid and killed a cat, all of which resulted in pretty hefty fines and violations, and that's just what the county has for them because their neighbour was talking about a lawsuit. All this sets them off even more. They start screaming about how they weren't paying anything and demanding we give their dogs back, or else. They get increasingly aggressive very quickly, but despite all this, we tell them that they're paying their fines or they can leave without their dogs. A county shelter isn't a retail chain. Screaming and stamping your feet and making threats isn't going to get you away here. The entitled mother makes them more thinly veiled threats about how we've somehow fucked up and we're going to get what's coming to us. The husband knocks a cup of pens off our counter and they storm out. While they were walking to their car, they walked past some volunteers of ours who overheard them loudly talking about going home and getting ready to come back up and blow up the shelter and kill all of us. Of course, cops were called and reports made. What the entitled parents aren't smart enough to realise is we have all their information, their names, address, phone numbers, copies of driving licence. We work for the county. We're a small sector of the government and these idiots just made a bomb threat against us. Sorry for not posting the dialogue that transpired, but as I said, I'm on my phone and just getting a quick moment to post this. If I hear any updates on the police investigation, I'll follow up with a part 2. Have a good one, people, and try not to get blown up out there. Damn. It's another sad one. It's sad for the cat that got killed. It's sad for the 2 poor dogs that's probably going to get put down because they're just so aggressive and they probably can't be controlled. Oh, it's just so much sadness in that story. And it's sad for their child that they've got because it's not going to have a great life with those 2 twonks, is it? Frickin' hell. Our next story is from Mr. Monarch. Entitled ex-stepmother hits the side of my head, but karma bites her. Cast me, EM entitled Freddy Krueger. Backstory, my dad was married to this creature for 6 years, and don't ask me how he was able to stay with her so long. I'm still trying to figure that out. Also, before this incident, I have to add that I was in kind of an accident years before I met her. My stepdad, really kind man, is a construction project manager, and he had to fire one of his employees for doing drugs on a project. So this former employee, cracked out of his mind, decided to drive up to our house and chuck a brick at our window. Well, as you can guess, throwing things while high on crack doesn't really work that well. So he was aiming for our living room window and missed by 3 feet while driving by. The brick flew and hit me dead center in the skull as I walk out the door. Well, emergency room trip, brain surgery, metal plate and a 3.5 week medically induced coma later, I was basically good minus a concussion and I was a little sensitive to light. So onto the story. I was visiting my dad and my stepmom was in one of her moods and asked me to do something while I was recording for a video project I had the next week. I said I couldn't because I had to finish my project. The conversation is as follows. The EM says, "Listen, just do what I say or I'll take your computer." I said, "EM, you didn't pay for it, I did. You know I had to work on this over the weekend." "Don't you all talk back to me, you failure." She used this as an insult to us, but it never really worked because it didn't make sense. The EM then says, "Do what I say or I'll get your father." Dad will agree that I need to get this done. Now you listen to me, I'm your elder and you will respect me or I will punish you. And if you do, I can literally pack my shit and walk the mile to my mum's, so you can try. This apparently set her off, because she cocked her hand back and slapped me on the side of the head. She, however, didn't hit the side of my face, but the side of my head, right above my ear. I really couldn't feel anything because I have nerve damage around there, so it felt kind of warm, I guess. She, on the other hand, literally sprained her wrist by slapping a metal plate full force. She tried to lie and said I grabbed her wrist, but I was able to prove her wrong because my computer was still recording when she hit me, so yeah, my dad's side of the family didn't really believe anything she said anymore. My dad finally divorced her 3 years later. Last I heard, she went to prison for assaulting one of my half-brother's teachers for a reason I can't really recall. Luckily my dad got custody of him and she is still in prison now. Edit, this is one of many stories about her, so I'll be posting more stories later. Thanks for reading. Oh my word, what a crazy stepmother. But to hit you on the side of the head. She must have known about your injury, and then to do that, that's just so stupid and so dangerous. I mean, our next story is from Von Gut. Your staff tried to kill my kid with nut allergies. No, you just didn't read the menu. I went to a small private Catholic school from 1st to 8th grade, and rich EPs just loved to swarm to Catholic schools. Unlucky for them, the teachers didn't take any shit from parents, but apparently class trips don't hold that same power. This happened 6 years ago, so I'm not going to remember every word said, but this is the gist of it. My 8th grade class of 34 went on a week-long field trip to Washington DC, and unsurprisingly there were some demonic chaperones. The class is 6 chaperones and the teacher went to dinner at an authentic hole-in-the-wall Italian restaurant. I brought a Tupperware meal with me ahead of time because Italian food and my severe gluten/dairy allergies don't mix. This is something I was used to doing because most restaurants at the time weren't experiencing accommodating severe allergies like they are now. The poor staff was having a rough time seating and getting drinks for the 40+ person party, so I made sure to stay out of the staff's way as much as possible. There were 2 other kids in my class with allergies, so their parents made sure to come with them. Time to introduce the cast. EM entitled Mum of Allergic Kid 1, EK1 entitled Kid of EM, ED entitled Dad of Allergic Kid 2, EK2 entitled Kid of ED, S1 Server 1, S2 Server 2, NK Nice Kid, ND Nice Dad. Oh jeez, these casts. My mum checked in with me and asked me if there was anything on the menu I could try. I told her I didn't want to risk it, so I sipped on my iced tea and talked with my friends at the table. I kept looking over at EM, ED and their respective EKs to see what they were going to do about their meal issue, given that we're in an unfamiliar place and Italian restaurants can be especially high risk for nut allergies. They ordered, asked a ton of performative questions and moved on. When the food came out, S2 put a huge, delicious looking plate of house-made pasta with traditional pine nut pesto in front of EK1. EK1 looked really excited to dig in, but NK looked at her plate and shook her head. NK said, "I think that's pine nuts in it." "Wait, really?" "Yeah, it's traditional pesto recipe," which it was, "then it'd definitely have pine nuts in it." "Mum, this has nuts in it." At this, EM called the server over and went off. EM said, "My daughter is allergic to pine nuts. This could have killed her." S2 said, "I'm sorry mum, I might have put the wrong dish in front of her." EM said, "EK1 ordered the angel hair with pesto. The server says, that typically has pine nuts in it mum." "Well, you should have said something. I don't know anything about this because I'm only bringing the food out. I can get your server for you in a minute though." EM decided this wasn't good enough and went off on this poor server for endangering her child, for something she ordered, as well as hurling insults at him in front of her kids in whole of 8th grade class. By this point, ED had heard the commotion and decided to join in the shit fit, shooting more insults at this undergrad server. Eventually S1 came back and EM and ED shifted their rage to her. The rest of the table started eating and pretending to ignore what was happening. I got my Tupperware out and tried to do the same. ND looked at me and then back to the EPs, trying to process what was happening. The ND to my mum, "Doesn't OP have allergies too?" And my mum said, "Yep." And then ND said, "Aren't they worse?" My mum, "Yep. OP brings his own food everywhere, so stuff like this," gestures to the EP disaster, "doesn't happen. The risk is too high to afford any screw ups, especially with a big group like this." ND shrugs and goes back to his meal. When everyone was fed and the EPs had been satisfied, we left the restaurant. My mum and I paid separately and gave a big tip. No server deserves that kind of treatment. I work with a guy who's got like a severe nut allergy. He's got one of those EpiPens just in case. And I feel so sorry for him because we bake cakes and stuff at work and we take it in and share it around and stuff. And he can't have none of this. When I buy cookies at work, he can't have none of it. When I buy chocolate for the office, he can't have none of it. It's so crazy. He has to sit there and he has to like sift through all the ingredients and bring in his own stuff. I just feel sorry for him. How about you guys? Has any of you got any massive allergies out there? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed these stories, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell. Thank you very much for being here, guys. Really appreciated. Much love. Goodbye.